ancient Rome. Welcome to episode 13 of Julian's Travels Schooling with the Crones. We are going to learn about ancient Rome and its impact on our world today. Hi, my name is Julian, and here's my essay about the Roman Empire. Rome was one of the biggest and most powerful civilizations ever. In this essay, you're going to learn all about the origin story, the building techniques that it used, the social classes, how it became one of the biggest empires in the world, and how that empire turned into just a city. This is the origin story of Rome. Rhea gave birth to Romulus and Remus. Then she went into prison, and Romulus and Remus were thrown into a basket into the Tiber River. Eventually, they arrived at the bank of a river where the wolf was drinking. Surprisingly, the wolf took her into her cave and nurtured them. After a few days, a man found them and took them back to his home. They grew up as warriors and wanted to build an empire. They started to have arguments of what it should be called, so Romulus killed his brother, and that's why it's called Rome and not Rheims. Romans are better builders than we are today. Think about the Colosseum that was built 2,000 years ago. I bet you that the Burj Khalifa is going to be gone in 2,000 years. Here are some building techniques that the Romans created or perfected: aqueducts, domes, concrete, arches, and roads. Here's a video about arches and domes. I'm going to explain to you the importance of a Roman arch and how it works. So this is my gravity, as you can see. And this is a Greek method. As you can see, it's not an arch, it's just flat. When you put gravity down on it, it bends down. That's all the tension. There's no pressure up here, down here to make it strong. Pressure makes stuff strong, and tension basically pulls things apart. And this is tension. This is what's happening. And if the bottom part is gone, the top part is gone. And here's the Roman way. Father, you need to come in for the concrete. Okay, so here's the Roman way. As you can see, it's an actual arch. And when you put gravity on it, it still is strong because there's no tension down here and there's a lot of pressure. And up here, since gravity is pushing down, there's no tension up there either. And that's how the Colosseum is still around, and most Greek buildings are just halfly gone. Now you know. See what happens when there's too much tension. Yeah. Just in case you didn't get it the first time, I'm going to explain pressure and tension with my own body. Okay, so this is the Greek way. As you can see, I feel the tension here and the pressure here while I'm in pain. Don't try this at home, kids. And then this is the Roman way. It's an arch, and I do not feel any pulling apart of my body. So that's good. And yeah, no pain whatsoever. This is the Arch of Constantine. It inspired most arches that you see today. For example, L'Arc de Triomphe. The reason why it's still standing is because there's only pressure and no tension. That's also the reason why the Colosseum is still standing. Another building technique that the Romans made is the dome. It's like the arch, but it has no tension, it's only pressure. A perfect example of this is the Pantheon that was made over 2,000 years ago, but still has a perfect dome. The Pantheon was built between 25 and 27 BC. It was finished under Emperor Hadrian. It is over 2,000 years old and a perfect example of a Roman dome. The dome of the Pantheon is completed by only Roman concrete. It was originally dedicated to 12 Roman gods. In 608 AD, it became a Catholic church. It is the oldest functioning building in the world today. On the Via Sacra, the road to victory. The Roman aqueducts brought fresh water to Rome, just like this. Oh look, here's an ancient Roman drinking out of this fountain. There's a working aqueduct in the Colosseum.
This was used to flood the floor for naval reenactments.
Not everybody in the Roman Empire were equal. Here are some people that had different status and power. Before Julius Caesar became dictator, senators had the most respect and power. After Julius became dictator, he changed Rome from a republic to an empire. The emperor had the most respect and power. There's the pyramid of power. Emperors had the most power in ancient Rome. Emperors were the rulers of the empire, often threatened by enemies. Senators are politicians whose power depended on the emperor. Equestrians, aristocratic families, often wealthy and influential. Plebeians, working people such as merchants and laborers. Foreigners, visitors from other parts of the empire. Slaves, threatened as property. Slaves had no rights and had to obey their masters. Rome was one of the biggest empires in history, but it all started out as a small village. Rome started to expand around 500 BC. It started to expand because it knew if it had all the resources that it needed, it could focus more on taking over land more than feeding the people. Carthage was its main rival, and in 146 BC, the Romans finally defeated them. After that, it was Julius Caesar who became dictator. Julius was a general in Gaul, which is now France. Julius took over the Roman Empire for only 5 years until he was assassinated by his friend Brutus and other senators who became his enemies. This is where Caesar was cremated after his assassination.
Crazy.
His adopted son Augustus Caesar ruled after that. Augustus is the first emperor in Roman history in 27 BC. There were 82 other emperors after Augustus. Here are some of the important emperors. Claudius, who took over 41 to 54 AD, took over Britannia, but the barbarians in the north fought back. Emperor Titus was the one who finished the Colosseum. Trajan, who was emperor for 98 to 117 AD, took over the most land and ruled when the empire was at its biggest. Emperor Hadrian, 117 to 138 AD, built a wall to stop the barbarians from the north, which is now Scotland, from going any further. Here I am at Hadrian's Wall. Here we are in Hadrian's Wall. It was built by Emperor Hadrian in 122 CE. It took about 6 years to build, and it was about 5 meters tall. It went coast to coast in northern England, which is about 73 miles. It was to defend the empire from barbarians, or which we now know as Scottish people. The wall had ditches in front and behind. It was built on high ground when possible. Soldiers were stationed in large forts with about 1,000 soldiers in each of them. And there were about 15 in smaller mile castles and turrets for lookouts and defense. This is one of the remains of the Roman forts along the wall. Here we are in London, and here is the original structure of the Roman wall in Londinium. In 286 AD, Emperor Diocletian split the empire in two, thinking it would make the empire stronger. It didn't. This was the start of the fall of the Roman Empire. Emperors had always ruled with bread and circuses, which means that they were giving people sport shows, for example, gladiator battles and chariot races, and food. That was a smart idea until 404 AD, when a monk stopped gladiators from fighting. He was Christian, and that took away the circuses. By circuses, I mean entertainment or distractions for the people paid for by the emperor. The Flavian Amphitheater, now known as the Roman Colosseum, held gladiator battles, exotic animal hunts, and reenactments. It seated 87,000 spectators. Circus Maximus held chariot races for over 300,000 spectators. Here they are. The Colosseum where the gladiators fought. The Colosseum floor was built up of wood and sand, and down there is where the animals and the gladiators were kept. This is the ruins of Circus Maximus, where the Romans did their chariot races. Every one of Rome's enemies teamed up and fought Rome. Rome was sacked in 455 AD by Vandals. Britannia and other colonies just left the Roman Empire. Attila and his Huns let the barbarians go into Rome and get land back from the Romans. Other barbarians were granted land from the Romans. Rome had spent too much money on the army because everyone was teaming up on it, that the bread was gone too. Because of a lot, land went away from Rome, food stopped coming to Rome, and so did the wealth. That's how the Roman Empire ended. When the Roman Empire fell, all of Europe went in the Dark Ages for about 1,000 years until the Renaissance. Without Rome, this world would be very different. Here are some things that the Romans invented or perfected: aqueducts, domes, arches, roads, columns, concrete, bricks, sports stadiums, vaulting and construction, apartments, malls, glass windows, internal heat, the first professional army, the Julian calendar. July was named after Julius Caesar, and August was named after Augustus Caesar. Surgery, bound books, plumbing. They influenced politics. For example, Canada and the United States would have senates. Even Washington, D.C. was created to be a new Rome. If you look at the White House and the Capitol building, they both have columns and domes. And most of French, Italian, English, and Spanish is built up of Latin, the ancient Roman language. And even most animals, plants, and science names are built up of Latin. As you can see, Rome was very powerful, smart, and above every other civilization at the time. In this essay, you just learned about the origin story, building techniques that it used, the social classes, how it became one of the biggest civilizations ever, and how that civilization turned it into just a city. In our modern world, Rome can be found in all sorts of things like sports stadiums and other buildings, even our language. Remember that you're living in the shadow of Rome.